Dr. Barry, London News. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We have a lot of people demonstrating and protesting and calling themselves patriots, and quite honest, it's just like the news. You get all the complaints and the whinging, but very little remedy. This man in Ireland, now I'm 77, I can say he was an older guy, he looks the same age as I. He actually explains there is no such thing as patriots. The war against what's happening in the world, in Ireland, and this applies to Australia just as it does Ireland. It's over without any protest, because really nothing has been done. I won't say much more about it, but have a look at this video. It's a wake-up call. Great man, and I thank him for it.
A few weeks ago, I was in a record shop here in Dublin, in a place called Temple Bar. Now, I go into this record shop maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, but I'd never really spoken to the people in it. You know, I'm usually in a world of my own. I'm a serious record collector, and I go in and I just root among the records. But they would know me to see me, that sort of thing, and I would nod at them, say it's a nice day, that sort of thing, but never really spoken to them. Anyhow, I was in there 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was wearing my cap as usual with its badges. And one of the guys in the shop, now I say it's a record shop, and they sell, I think it's ink for posters, something like that, or spray, you know, that stuff. Don't really know much about it. It's sort of a shop that attracts young people, or, well, it's not a shop for old people, put it that way. It's not a shop full of old conservatives. But I was in there anyhow, and the guy, he was looking at me, and he looked at this badge here, and he asked me what it is. What it was, and I told him it's the For Britain Party, and that they were a anti-woke party in Britain. And then he mentioned about, he said something about transgender people. He said, you know, we get a lot of young transgender people in here. And he said, and I'm going from memory here, and he said something like, well, it's all mad or something like that. Something is dismissive. Then one of the guys, there's a couple of guys in the shop, one of the guys asked about the Donald Trump badge. He said, why do you wear the Donald Trump badge? And I said, well, I wear it because it pisses off all the right people. And he smiled, and he said, well, that's a good reason. So it was obvious after a few minutes that the people in the shop were not woke. And to be honest, I would have assumed the opposite, because I'd say it's the sort of shop where the young people, trendy I suppose you could say. But it was obvious these people weren't on board with the woke agenda. And then this guy asked me, and I think he was the boss guy, he asked me, he said, what do you think of the situation in Ireland? And I said, well, to be honest, I think Ireland is finished. I think Ireland is finished. I think our civilization is finished. You know, I said that, you know, I figured it was too late to turn the clock back or something, to put the genie back in the bottle. And then I went on to say something about, can't remember the exact words, but I talked about how we have a lot of patriots in Ireland, but none of them have died yet to stop this. None have sacrificed their homes, their families to stop any of this. And I said that none of them were going to. And we were talking for a while, and I said how it was this war against Ireland, against the West generally, but against Ireland in particular, let's say. You know, this is a very unusual war. It's a war in which one side destroy a country, and the other side, the people who describe themselves as patriots, just sit back and let it happen and do nothing. And he raised the point in response to this. He raised the point which was very obvious, very simple, but I'd never really thought of it before. And he made the point that Ireland is a wealthy country, and that when wealthy societies were in decline, or collapsing, or being destroyed, people simply weren't prepared to make sacrifices. And of course he's right. He was right, 100% right. You know, today most people have their homes. Their kids maybe are going to college. They have their mobile phones, their laptops, and life is good. And, you know, society has become soft. But, I was thinking about this over the last couple of weeks, and do I believe that these patriots, these people who describe themselves as patriots, are any of these people going to risk their lives? No. They would have done that a long time ago. Are any of these people prepared to sacrifice their homes, their families, their sanity? No. And I thought of, these people who call themselves patriots. I thought of all the people throughout history in Ireland who were indeed patriots. Famous people, famous leaders, but even more so the anonymous people, the ordinary poor people who had nothing, and yet who fought back against the British at that time, and who sacrificed everything they had. Their homes, they became homeless. If they weren't killed, they became homeless. Their children became homeless. In some cases, their children may well have starved. But they made that sacrifice rather than live as unfree people. These patriots, these Irish men, there are no men in Ireland. Well, there are some. You'll find them if you go up to your local mosque. There are men up there who will die for what they believe in. But outside of the mosque, you won't find any men in Ireland. And these self-professed traitors, I often think that if I could go back, if it were possible, and tell people, the people who've lived over the 800 years of British rule in Ireland, if you could go back and tell them what's happening to Ireland now, and then you were to tell them, if you're saying, now here's the really shocking bit, nobody has died fighting it. Not a bullet has been fired. Nobody has lost their home, nobody has lost their family, nobody's gone hungry for it. If you were to tell them there are people in Ireland today who call themselves patriots and they've done nothing, well, they would wonder, what sort of people are these? They would certainly understand that these people who call themselves patriots are the greatest traitors that Ireland has ever produced. None of these traitors is going to give their life, their liberty, their home, their family for Ireland. You can forget about that. That's not going to happen. And in the absence of that, Ireland is finished. it's over. You know, I've said before, and it's true, that I first started, I suppose, watching YouTube videos about 15 years ago. And 15 years ago, and 10 years ago, and 5 years ago, people were saying, well, another 3, 4, 5 years of this and we will have reached the point of no return. If you've been watching videos for 10 years or more on YouTube, you'll have heard all this. And, you know, in that period of time has passed, we have passed the point of return many times. Ireland is truly finished. And there's a difference between being defeatist and simply being honest. And I'm just being honest here. Nothing can save Ireland. There are no actual patriots who are prepared to stand up and do something. You know, going on Twitter, that's not going to save Ireland. Making YouTube videos like this will not save Ireland. Joining this or that private group and talking rubbish, that's not going to save Ireland. It's a terrible thing to have to say, but it's true. Ireland is finished. This war is over. And this is an extraordinary war in which only one side was fighting. The patriots, they haven't lifted a finger. They haven't fired a shot. They haven't made a single sacrifice. Their only interest seems to be in recording this and amusing themselves on Twitter or on YouTube. You know, I've said it many, many times before, but these people make YouTube videos, and I include internationally the people who do, the well-known people, the trigonometries, etc., etc. All of these people, they're in the entertainment business. You know, I watch lots of YouTube channels. I say trigonometry, and so what you're saying is, you know, that platform, and there's a whole host of them. You know them yourself. Good quality. You know, good quality if you like, intelligent videos. But all of these people, ultimately they're engaged in entertainment. If you watch these videos, not a single one of the people, these videos, well, actually, they won't even talk about doing something. They studiously avoid saying anything that might get them into trouble. They simply record what's happening, and they do it in an entertaining manner. And I watch these videos. I've been watching these videos for years. I was watching them last night for 3 or 4 hours. Really good quality, if you like intelligent videos. But all they were telling me is what I already knew, and what you already know. And I was watching them because I was entertained. Were they telling us what we should do now? No. Were they saying anything that might get them into trouble? Oh no. It is a terrible thing to see the West, to see our democracies collapse, be obliterated forever. And it's particularly obscene given it's happening in this particular generation. You know, I was born into a society which was democratic and free. And I didn't have to fight for it. I didn't have to make a sacrifice for it. And all my life, since the time of my late teens, you know, I used to wonder in my late teens, I would look around the society I was living in, the society that I was living in, a peaceful society, moderately wealthy compared with most societies that had existed. And I would think, I was given this as a birthright. I didn't have to fight for it. I didn't have to suffer for it. Other generations did that, and I was benefiting. And into my 20s and my 30s and my 40s, as time passed, I would find myself over and over again thinking, this can't go on forever. I'm wondering if things were to go wrong, what would actually go wrong. Now, I have to admit, it never entered my mind that this woke thing would develop. I thought that perhaps there would be a war, maybe between China and the West. Or maybe there would be some huge natural disaster, maybe a meteorite hitting Earth, or maybe the global economy might go haywire and we might have real recession and real hunger and even starvation. Now, I wasn't particularly depressed or anything like that. I was living my life and for the most part enjoying it. But every so often, and this is since my late teens, every so often I would sort of find myself reflecting on the fact that another year, another decade had passed, and I was still living with this freedom, this democracy, this wealth, for which I personally never had to pay. I never had to earn it. So it is particularly tragic and obscene that a generation who never had to fight for their freedom, who were given it as a gift by previous generations. Generations of people who gave their lives, their families, their homes, their everything, so that we could have a democratic society like this. And the patriots of the day, the people who call themselves patriots, they're sitting back and letting all that be destroyed. There are no patriots in Ireland today. The people who call themselves patriots, they're the greatest traitors that Ireland has ever produced. And if you could go back in time, if you could go back 100, 200, 400 years and talk to Irish people and tell them what is happening, and then you were to tell them, oh, by the way, nobody has fired a single shot to stop this. Nobody has made a single sacrifice. Well, they perhaps wouldn't believe it. Could such a thing happen? Could the Irish people have descended so low? Had they become such cowards and traitors that they'd sit back and let this happen? That word patriot, people use it all the time about themselves. And if you're one of those people, let me tell you, you're not a patriot. You're the greatest coward that ever lived. A traitor and a coward. And I hope you rot in hell. And if there is some eternal being up there controlling our universe and our destiny, and if there is a hell, you will rot in it. You are traitors, all of you. You are cowards. And forget all this crap about men. There are no men in Ireland. Well, if you go to your local mosque, you'll find men. You'll find men who are prepared to die for what they believe in. Apart from that, there are no men in Ireland. There are cowards and traitors.
Anyway, I hope that was an eye-opener for the patriots who call themselves patriots and really all they're doing is whinging like old girls because the men, well, they've all gone to water. At least I can put my hand up and say I've tried something in common law and it's working, and it's a very slow process. If everybody that's whinging stopped whinging and took a little lawful action, it'd be end of story. Anyway, London News sign off. Thanks for watching, guys. See you all again soon if I'm still alive. Bye for now.